All right. Welcome back. Man, it's been a while. It has been a long while since I've uploaded to this channel. Um, man, I mean, as most things go, life life comes up. I've changed degrees, I've changed universities, I've been through 3 jobs since I've last uploaded. Um, yeah, it's been a while. Things have been happening and genuinely just a lot of the games I was playing on the channel just kind of dropped interest, or really just in terms of Victoria and Terra Invicta and those games, I just lost interest. There might be the return to Victoria here upcoming soon with the release of the military update, but I doubt it just because of the fact that sure the military's updated, but the flavor in that game still isn't there. As once you've played as a colony, once you've played as a great power, once you've played as a non-great power, and once you've played as an unrecognized nation, those 4 subcategories, you've played every nation in the game because they all play the same, they all want to accomplish the same things, and they all do that by the exact same way. The only way I'd say is different from that is I guess the Ottomans for the first 20 years you have to play the little mini game of basically decadence, but not because you've already fallen, which is fun, I guess, once, but not much replayability in that. And it's not like going through those journal entries are very hard, because half of them are just conquest, and in the crappy war system, it's not like that's very enjoyable at its own front. But yeah, I just wanted to preface this video just starting with that, just where I've been, what's going on, kind of I guess we can go into the future of the channel. Um, the future of it, I mean, mainly is you're looking at it right here. Not Gregtech in particular, I'll get into that in a couple seconds, but mainly just trying to find games that are long burn style, if that makes any sense. It's not really a real definition, but basically games that games I'm not hoping that my recordings do not outpace the development and the actualization of the product that I'm attempting to present to you guys, because that happened. I played XCOM, I played Victoria, and I played uh, Terra Invicta on the channel. And with Victoria and Terra Invicta both, my recording of the game outpaced the actual product. Terra Invicta, I've played around with a bit since then, like about a month ago. I just, the game truly is not in a state that I like. I do not think it's very much in the same case as Victoria, to where sure there is flavors, but mass sabotage of exploity style things of like repeat sabotaging the enemy factions key researches and basically gate camping everybody else from being able to have resources. All of the same strategies are employed in every playthrough, regardless of what faction you are. Doesn't matter if you're the Academy and you want to broker an agreement between aliens. Doesn't matter, because you're just going to blow everybody up, sabotage everybody else's space habs and everything else. All the same, because that's just the best way to play the game. It's the most efficient. So it's not so much. In XCOM, very much came down to the fact that just that's the game, especially when I was playing the X Files, does not transfer very well to a let's play situation. Great, probably for live streaming. I might try that eventually. YouTube live streaming. I might do a return to XCOM. Definitely not the XCOM Files, but maybe another mod. Maybe the XCOM Files. I don't know, but definitely a mod at some point, maybe. I'm not entirely sure. Had to bring something up off screen. So that's also another thing that you might notice from now to then. Um, If you couldn't tell there in the audio, the mouse clicking in the background is gone. The mouse clicking is gone. Um, a lot of the more minute, annoying sounds, keyboard clicks, minute clearing of throat, keep mouse clicks, shifting of a chair should be a lot harder for the sound system to pick up now. You shouldn't really hear it unless it's the one caveat to that, which I'm working on, is mainly the fact that my current mouse is like $10 off of Amazon and it's a piece of trash. Is the fact that if I'm talking and I start to click very fast, you will probably still hear it at that point. Um, but yeah, there's not much that a sound suppressor can do about that. That is simply my mouse being way too loud and annoying and an old piece of trash that needs to be tossed into the bin and replaced with something not garbage. So, I think that's everything I wanted to cover before we actually start the Gregtech. I'm mainly throwing all of this on to the prefaces of this video because I don't really feel like or care for or think is important of like having a 10 to 15 minute long channel update video because quite frankly put um, other than a couple key videos of people who wanted Terra Invicta information, I almost certainly vast majority of people are not going to be watching these videos who have already been here from before the pause. Um, yeah, and if you are new to this channel, seeing this video for the first time, just to let you know, there is probably nothing worth watching in the backlog unless you are interested in Terra Invicta strategies, because the ironic part of the reason I left that game, the lack of an evolving metagame and radical game-changing content from the demo to the release to now, means that the basically every tip I gave in every single Terra Invicta video still stands. If you want a great playthrough of it, the best is easily Peruin AU Gaming. He doesn't upload anymore either, but his Humanity First and Academy runs, mainly the Humanity First because he truly goes into depth and explains stuff, especially showing you practically every move before he goes to late game in the space, where he starts jump cutting around. You can really get an amazing idea of how to play the game from him if you are, yeah, sure, I've seen the tips and tricks and I've played my own, messed around a little bit. I want something either to emulate or truly practice from. His is probably the go-to easily. So what are we doing in Gregtech? The reason we're in Gregtech is number one, I like Minecraft. I think I messed around a little bit uploading hardcore Minecraft. Quite simply put, the reason I quit that, number one, messed around with it, just throw my hat in the ring mainly because I had already been playing hardcore Minecraft before I ever started this channel. But then, pretty much, there's nothing for me to add. People were already doing weird stuff. Oh, I've collected every biome in the game. There's no flame to any of that. It's just a path well trodden that I knew I could not add anything new to that. I'm not exactly a redstone mechanic or anything amazing with that. It is simply a path too well trodden for somebody who's not overtly experienced in the depth and the mechanics of Minecraft to be able to add anything. But that changes when we go to Gregtech New Horizons. So for people who maybe this is your first experience with Gregtech New Horizons, you just typed into YouTube, okay, I want to play Gregtech New Horizons. You type it in. Okay, here's this Joker, right, who's playing Gregtech New Horizons. I'm going to click on his video. So the reason I'm starting this is there are like, you can count on one hand the good Gregtech YouTubers, right? First easily comes to mind CarX89, right? But his playthrough is so far down the line that it's not a problem. It means you have basically infinite content to watch. He's doing the like stellar arrays and space elevators and stuff like that, which is quite insane, I'll be honest. Then you have Ghostpedia, who has started very recently and are amazing videos. Highly recommend you watch I think they have two of them out right now, the Stone Age and LV Age. Um, Very entertaining videos just on their own. Even if you don't like Gregtech, they're still just entertaining videos. Things are made. You really don't even have to know what modded Minecraft is to truly enjoy those videos. The editing is very good. And then, of course, Threefold was another amazing Gregtech YouTuber before he quit. He attempted the pack twice and gave up the first time due to base burnout, and that was his own admission, was that he hated his base and it burnt him out, which is entirely fair. And the second time, just YouTube in general, I think it's rough. I mean, God, look at me in this video. I've I've been gone for 9 months. You know, life sometimes just comes up and gets in the way, and it be like that. When YouTube isn't a full-time job for people, it just stuff comes up. So why am I here now? The big question is, why am I here now? What is the point of this series? Why am I doing Gregtech? Well, it mainly comes from there are two people, Reagan and I go by lots of names, who do Gregtech, basically YouTube poops, if that makes any sense, if that term, YouTube shits, YouTube poops, whatever you want to call them. But basically, in one of their videos, as this channel originally started, of course, is watching somebody else's YouTube video and thinking to myself, well, I'm pretty knowledgeable. Why can't I do that? Why can't I explain that? So, in one of the videos, he makes a joke about how Gregtech, basically every single time, the overlasting meme is every single time someone gets close to the ultimate in-game goal, building the Stargate, they just make it harder. The problem is every single time they update the pack, they don't just make the end game harder, they make everything harder all along the way. And one of the complaints was that the early game, it had been so long since any of the actual developers had played the early game of Gregtech New Horizons that they didn't know how hard it was already. So they kept on nerfing stuff and adding more things to the early game that were unnecessary, dragged it out, made it more complicated. And that was the complaint, was that the people developing the pack had not played the early game in years, yet were still making it harder to get past the early game, thus adding unnecessary bloat to the game. Now, I first played Gregtech New Horizons about, God, at this point, about a year and a half ago, with a friend. We, on a personal server, played collectively 500 hours and got to midway through the high voltage age before, ironically enough, base burnout got us, and we were just we quit the pack. Well, not just base burnout. Our base sucked, but base burnout killed it for me specifically because I had been designing a new base around solely around the fact that I'd never seen anybody use the dam, the the water dam multi-block with the large hydroelectric turbines. So I was like, okay, screw it. That's going to be unique. That's something I can figure out. The problem with the dam multi-block is it is a buggy piece of crap and crashes the server 24/7. So I spent about 50 hours collecting and designing a base and gathering materials and concrete and dam parts, all for it to just be worthless and useful. It really killed me. And on my friend's part, the he was really excited for Magic because we had come from 1.12.2 packs and beyond, which was dealing with Bombcraft 6 and beyond basically. And this version of Bombcraft it's special, and I'll just leave it at that. It's a special little boy you pat on its head and you deal with, but you don't really like to talk to it. Just it's just a bad time, to be honest. This version of Thumbcraft. So we got burnt out and we dropped the world. So I came back and had started to play alone. Um, this was me jumping in earlier to test out audio settings. This play date. It's actually been about 2 weeks since I last played it myself. This world is Single player world, it's just my own. I'd gotten all the way up to building a steam turbine. Again, basically the very introduction to the low voltage age, having about a stack of steel. And that took me about 50 hours of gameplay. But the main thing that kind of got to me was basically, how do I put this? That that complaint from that videos of the early game is hard. And the early game is hard, but I think it's coming from someone who's played the early game relatively back to back and also having the knowledge of watching Threefold's experiences before me, being able to watch two of his playthroughs and play one of mine, being able to combine that experience. Basically, I want to bring that into one center point of just a long play. Ghostopedia started his playthrough, but it's highly edited and formatted, and he's also playing with the Stargate speedrun rule set, which basically means that once you get beyond a certain place, I think you're allowed to turn on peaceful mode because you have access to the void dimension anyway. Once you get TP, like waypoints and TP is allowed. The creation of certain materials is allowed to like save on lag and different things like that, which of course it's the speedrun settings from the Gregtech New Horizons Discord as far as I'm aware, which that's fine. But I'm trying to, what I basically at the end all be all of this gigantic spiel is I'm trying to center a non-edited, fully concise video series documented in its entirety of, at the very least for now, that's the main goal um, of the early game in Gregtech New Horizons. Here's how you create a world, here's how you start, and here's how you get all the way to the, like, I'm not getting chain killed because I can't see outside at night, basically, is the idea. Is like out of the early game. At least, at the very least, getting to LV with a nice base, right? So, how do you start Gregtech New Horizons? Well, number one, do not play Gregtech New Horizons on the Curse Forge launcher. Curse Forge is incredibly buggy with Gregtech New Horizons, just historically. Um, I'm not going to link directly to downloads just for longevity purposes, but also for just rights purposes. I don't know the laws in that, so I don't really want to screw with that. Beyond the fact that YouTube itself does not allow me in directly the video description to embed links because of, I forget what exact reasons, like subscriber milestones or whatever. But I could obviously circumnavigate that by allowing links inside my comments and pinning my own comment with the links. I can get around it that way. I just won't because longevity and rights, I don't feel like messing with that. What you need to know though is your easiest way is the Technic launcher. You just download the Technic launcher, download Gregtech New Horizons straight from it, and you can go. Or the way I would recommend is you can download multi-MC and then you go to the GitHub for Gregtech New Horizons. And the reason I recommend it for through multi-MC and the GitHub is you get the newest up-to-date version of Gregtech New Horizons. You can just go to the GitHub and pull whatever version you want and download it straight to multi-MC, and it's super easy to set GPU and RAM parameters in multi-MC, and it's far easier than doing anything else. It's way less faff. So then once you load, it'll take a while, prefaces. It might take a while. To get to this screen, then obviously you can, the very first thing you'll probably do is go to video settings and turn your GUI scale to off of this garbage on auto. I just always have it on large. That's what fits my screen. It's also easier for visibility for you guys because, I mean, I don't want to play on this. I mean, and I don't think you guys probably could ever see this on 1080p. So we're with large. Music, music you can have on. I have it off because again, YouTube and copyright. I do not care to mess with that. Um, when it comes to difficulty, I'm going to be playing on hard just for the sole reason of I want this to be the end all complete of okay, I want to know how to escape the early game of Gregtech New Horizons in 2023 on the hardest difficulty. There's basically no strategy unturned, no solution unthought of. Okay, he's playing on easy, and I want to play on hard, so he never put as much focus onto food and pathing and reducing the amount of times he has to jump and etc. in base security because he's playing on an easier difficulty. That's a stone unturned that I would rather not leave. So hard, I really do like the world creation in this. It's very easy. All you need is a name, so we'll just go Gregtech New Horizons YouTube to keep it very simple. Survival. You want the realistic alpha. You want generate structures on. If you're doing the speedrun parameters, which I believe you can find on the Gregtech New Horizons Discord, which I'll be honest, I don't know how to find their Discord, but it's probably just a Google search away. I believe in that game mode, in that run, you would allow cheats on for a lot of the, TP shenanigans and stuff like that. We're going to be leaving cheats off, just for the simple reason of we're going the most vanilla, basic, no faff style run to apply to the most. Bonus chest, we're going to leave off because all that will do is just randomize the run, which will make things worse, and we can go. So yeah, Gregtech New Horizons. We're we're in it. 22 minutes of faff to get through, but we're loading in. Not the worst. Honestly, expected it to take longer than 22 minutes of faffing about. I'll probably just leave down in the probably in the description be like skip to 22 minutes for the start of the game. Where are we? Okay, so we actually got this is actually an amazing spawn for a lot of different reasons. The first thing I always like to do is to just get my bearings. It's always the first thing to do. My settings for video, you can see them here. I have 14 chunks, 120 FPS, fancy, etc. That's just what I can run with my parameters. You guys might need more or less, depending. The reason this is amazing spawn, just right off the bat, is this hardened clay. It's just S plus tier spawn, just based off of the fact that we have hardened clay. I want to also check something in sounds. Okay. I'll turn music on a little bit here. Mainly just ensuring that... Because at some points in the old world, I'd be going AFK for steal and tabbing out and watching YouTube, so I would just hostile creatures off. But obviously we don't want hostile creatures off for that reason. The very first thing you should be doing is number one, you can check the quest book. I'll go theme with... Let's see here. We'll go standard light for visibility for you guys. And so it begins. We can get 8 dirt. We can do that later. The main thing that I want you guys to focus on in Gregtech is... Alrighty, sorry about that. I had to pause the recording. Try to get back to it. Let me remember. Oh, don't sprint. That's also another thing. Do not sprint. So let me remember where I was. Had to get the door. So, one very important thing in Gregtech is before you start, whatever you were going to do, run to the loo, anything like that, get that done before you create your world. Or if you need to go check the door like myself, just do this. You're a single player. It's going to pause. It's going to pause the game. As we can see, we can throw this dirt, or well, that wool. It pauses the game. that's a #1 rule in even normal Minecraft. If you're in a dangerous situation, the first thing you should think to do is just pause the game, take a second to breathe. We are in a race against time. Against that, we don't really need the sun because at the top left, maybe make it a bit more clear if I put it up against this wool for you guys. That just muddles it. But if you see at the top left, it says 8:50 now, day. Basically, night is 6:30 p. That is nighttime in Gregtech New Horizons. So we just basically need to not be in an unsafe location by 6 p.m. So one mistake a lot of people do when they first start the game is they faff about a lot. Let me just check something. Okay, cool. Sometimes basically ghost maps and journey maps form, which are essentially just remnants of journey maps from an old world. So if you do actually have that, I'll show you how to clear that. God, that is loud. What even is fireworks? I guess ambient environment? Maybe players, since we caused them. I don't know. Oh, that is piss off loud. Oh, that's a village. So we'll go ahead over into the village. It's actually of all of the runs in Gregtech New Horizons I've done, this is the first time I've actually found a village before building a smeltery. Like, not a EBF or a blast furnace smeltery, but like, you know, well, is it a blast furnace? Yeah, the blast furnace, yeah. Or not the blast, the tinkers, the old tinker, the tinker boy. I'll show you what I'm talking about before long, I'm sure. Before I just confuse you guys more. But back to the first night. Basically, the first night is you have a laundry list you're trying to check off. And a lot of players, when they get frustrated in Gregtech, they end up dying, they're frustrated, and they're just chain dying on their first night because there is hardcore darkness in this pack. I like hardcore darkness, not for the fact that for like any gameplay reason. It just makes your builds look very good and very ambient. Makes building in low light situations very fun, and it also makes just the world in general, different structures pop out really easily. It looks very good. So another thing, if you shift right click, you can pick up gardens. You should be doing that like all the time. Glow flowers, cool. We can see what we can turn these into. In here you can see my my list here. We'll keep this because we'll be building basically everything on this list, but as you can see, the last thing I got to was the basic steam turbine. So we'll take a peek inside a village here. Villages are always worth going to, if you see them, for the simple reason that, well, not these idiots. I mean, this is actually a pretty good trade if you get some eggplant. But we are looking for the Tinker Smeltery spawn. You don't always get them inside this biome. Mystic Groves. Pretty garbage biome, I'll be honest. Lots of sand. Lots of gravel. So, doesn't look like we were fortunate enough to get a Tinker's Smeltery to spawn in this village, which is disappointing for me because it means more grinding, but not disappointing for the guide because yeah, this is also why you don't, this biome sucks. But even though this biome sucks, I think we're going to be here for a little while. Desert, we can see some oil. Just really want to check. You can really see the Tinkers from the top down because it will be a black square about yay big. So I was just mainly looking for it underneath the tree cover, but you can see Central Road. It would be teed off. Like that would be what a Tinker Smeltery maybe would look like, but that's the apiary house. You can tell by the roof. Red marble. That'll be important for later. But yeah, so we can sort of make this a little place to live. Just go ahead and make this all down to planks. Just do this. Just future-proofing this village. No, oh, that's not what I wanted to do. No reason to get sloppy and die for it. So one thing we can do is, this is kind of the point you want to get on your first night, is you want a little bit of food. So an important part of food in Gregtech New Horizons is that this diminishing returns. So diminishing returns start after eating any food 8 more times. So you get a bit of leeway. So this is a part of like why Gregtech New Horizons early game isn't that punishing. And you can also tell I'm doing a ton of faffing about, but I'm still going to be ready by that first night. Still going to be completely fine on that first night, because even if you don't find a village, like say this one, obviously, the oldest trick in the book, a dirt shack, works just fine. What? I mean, I can't resist this, right? Do you see that shadow down there? Do it go down? It do go down. Okay, we're out of there. That I don't know if that's like X-rayed through the floor or texture glitch, but like we're gonna keep that because it do go down. Yeah, we're screw that, to be honest. One other thing, we can get this little tree. So some mod packs, they have excavator. So there is no excavator in this. Well, there is an excavator multiple times, in fact, in this pack, but there's no basically free super tool in that you can hit the hotkey and it auto mines the entire tree for you, because that is a big part of the balance of Gregtech New Horizons, is the fact that when you have food in a certain way, basically a large portion of the balance of Gregtech New Horizons comes from you have set amount of materials that you need in order to garner. Okay, we'll actually take that honeycomb. There are some uses for this later on. Oh, okay. Thought there was a candle. What's that? What's that? Auto sorting. Marshy, modest. What we can actually do is just start this, right? Common. Oh, sky obstructed. That punch work. No flowers. What do you? No flowers. Proven frame, untreated frame. So we can actually just start going with this. This is. Oh my! He's just going ham in the background over there. Yeah. So. Okay. Yeah. Number one, ignore what I'm doing. This is just. This is already a terrible start. But I mean, this is Gregtech New Horizons. If this is, I'll be honest. If you don't do this, then I don't know if this game is. Whoa. But yeah, if you're not a guy who just goes and faffs about, I'll be honest, I don't know if this is the pack for you, because, God, a vast majority of your gameplay will just be, ooh, what's that thing? And just going and doing it, which is, oh, the right flowers. And you're modest. I mean, if I just switch you, will you work over here? Too humid, too cold, okay. So you're just a piss baby, basically. So everything's exploding. That's because this is a hellhole we found ourselves in, and as things get exceptionally dark very fast. So the house we were gonna stay in has been infested by a spider because we were too stupid to camp it out. Wow. Okay, so that was a concussion creeper that has just teleported us. So we will quickly find our way back to the hovel and block it off. So why have we chosen here? It's big. It's space, mainly crafting table. Very good. Crafting table. So throw the ladder up there, and we can actually begin the quest book. So, okay. There's the Discord if you were wondering. Many Gregtech New Horizons topics are explained on our wiki at blah blah blah. Another Yeah, there's a spreadsheet here. I'll go ahead and actually, well, I'll just go pop out and go check on that for you guys right now on what's exactly at that. Gregtech New Horizons Google sheet. Okay. Seems pretty intensive. Resources. Okay. Ore sheet, small ore spawn, GT tiers, GT cracked recipes, biomes, IC2 crop, GT turbine stats. Okay, some decent stuff. If you're looking for like true spreadsheet type stuff, another way to get, yeah, hopefully you didn't get munched by a monster while reading this. Thankfully we are inside our shit shack. Well, this isn't really a shit shack. It's actually the nicest place I've ever been in. There's windows, so that's a step up beyond what we could be able to create for the longest time. So, and these are just, they're checkboxes. You just claim them. So here it teaches you, this is another thing. If you are lost in Gregtech New Horizons, at least, I'm going to say this, the quest book is extremely in-depth and very thorough up until the point where the vast majority of players are not playing the game anymore. So for the LV, MV, and HV tiers, things are extremely well documented, and things are laid out very concisely in the quest book. You just have to have the patience and mainly the time to read. So like here, place the item you're holding on the block you're looking at, V, so you can place clay on the ground. So if you're like, my inventory's too cluttered, well, there you go. I'm just going to place all of this garbage on the ground. Okay, congrats. Your inventory is no longer cluttered because of the fact you read the quest book for like 2 seconds. You can draw weapons. It's a second hotbar that holds weapons. My inventory's too cluttered. Oh my gosh. Well, you can have an entire second hotbar of, okay, that's annoying. I'm sorry. A second hotbar for items that can hold weapons. Oh, I died and lost my quest book. Oh, I can't complete. Well, if you bothered to read it before you lost it, you can hit the grave key. Well, it has been rebound. My grave key is apparently craft present configuration settings, but obviously in controls you could go down to, I believe it is called better questing. So we can just probably type in quest. Yeah. Okay, yeah, it is double bound. So easy way to do that, obviously. You can show yeah, that's about right. It's the only thing that is double bound. So mainly for this, you just want to have one dump key, which I guess apostrophe works. So now if we actually go back and hit grave again, look, we can open the quest book without having a quest book in us. We can actually just leave that leave, leave that behind and now use the grave key. So we can get an apple juice. Go ahead and drink that because it's a good food. One thing I also recommend to not kill yourself is you can see diminishing returns start after eating any food 7 more times. So what that means is if you have, what that basically means is for the early game, try as hard as possible to eat your highest quality food possible that you can have a mass amount of, if that makes sense. So basically go on a fast till you can maybe get a furnace, then only eat cooked steak, which is like 1 or 1.5 till you get, because obviously if you have 4 pork chop, 4 mutton, 4 steak, then that gets annoying. But you have a little buffer being able to be, okay, I can have 14 steak in my inventory. I'll only eat that 14 steak. Numbers in the corner, so this teaches you a bit more about, well, the numbers in the corner. Basically, yeah, it tells you about TPS and ticks and some commands you can run. We'll mainly skip over that and see, like, this berry, right, is only half a shank, and we can craft it into ambrosia or a fruit salad, but that's long off, so we're just going to draconic evolution place it in the corner and forget it ever existed, because that's a bait. Mushroom biomes, why are there so many? So this is another thing. It is made for the realistic world generation, which comes by default, so if you are seeing mushroom biomes all over the map, you clicked something you shouldn't have clicked. Yeah, if you're on a server, put level dash type dot real world generation into the server properties file and generate a new world. Basically, this is for people, I guess, a little bit of server troubleshooting, because I've done it, honestly, way too much of that in my life. I really wish to never do that again. But essentially, whenever you load any mod pack, not just Gregtech New Horizons, but any mod pack into any server, at least, I don't know about commercial servers, but at least private use servers, either self-hosted or through third parties like Bisect hosting or Apex hosting or whatever, worlds, it will always load as default. So if a pack has, say, Biomes of Plenty available and you want to play on Biomes of Plenty, you have to specify that in server properties and find the command line you need to type into the properties file for Biomes of Plenty, world type. Otherwise, say you're playing the 1.12.2 or all the mods 3. I think that has Biomes of Plenty. You're just going to be stuck with defaulto instead of the actual real generation. I had a problem with that in the 1.16.5 version. I think it was all the mods 6, where they added create to the pack. The problem is the default world type that it loads on servers for all the mods 6, no biome spawn with andesite in it naturally, because of the fact that all of the custom biomes overwrite andesite spawning, so it is impossible to play some of the mods in the pack due to the lack of dorite and andesite naturally spawning. So this is important if you're looking to play multiplayer. Also, beef jerky, 1.5. Not a bait food, so we eat. You can see here, back up your stuff. So there is an in-game backup. Yeah, the Thaumcraft data is a little buggy. Yeah, so like here, journey map, and this is a part of the journey map, which I'll show you now. So journey map, there's a way, if you just go to actions and delete map, basically, if you ever have played on a server or another world before, in that mod pack with, you know, say you've played on a server in all the mods 3, and then you start a new server 8 months later with the same like profile of all the mods 3 but join a new server, your journey map will be the same one as the old one. It'll just overlay. So you can go to here and hit delete map in all dimensions, and it'll go ahead and wipe the settings. So that's just what it's talking about in the backups. We're not going to claim this because I don't want the coin clogging. We'll complete it, but not claim it because we don't need the coin clogging up our inventory. Better questing. This is just talking about, yeah, you can admin edit. Yeah, if you have cheats on, you can edit quest, basically to complete them. I think CarX89 did this in his series earlier on because he had worked ahead of the quest book and needed to remake items. So one thing I highly recommend, if you don't really know what you're doing, just follow the quest book. The quest book is the path of least resistance. If you think you've found a cheat, a way around, if you feel like it, please attempt it. Please leave it in the comments. I will beg you, and I will be on my hands and knees ready to hear the workaround, because thank you. I will appreciate that in my endeavors of playing Gregtech New Horizons. But generally, the quest book is a path well trodden, Gregtech New Horizons, and the quest book is pretty good. And so this is talking about chunk loading. Yeah, chunk loader from GT++. Yeah, if you do this on the server, expect admins to get pissed at you. There's Railcraft, anchors, and then of course the best one, because it's free 99, is Feed the Beast Utilities mod and claim chunks and set them to chunk load. Yeah, so you need to be either, for this option, you either need to be the admin of the server, or like owning the server, or on single player. So cookie, you can see here, cookie is a bait, so we leave it. Basically, chunk loading is incredibly useful for like quarries and things like that. So we can see here, grab a seat. So yeah, before we just leave and start faffing about, I'll just complete this. Well, this should be done, right? Okay, retrieval. Okay, it's just telling you. So another thing is consume no, consume yes. Basically, consume no just means you the breakdown. I'll explain these as we go on and get more examples, but what this means is retrieval task one, if you've never played with the quest book before, is essentially meaning you need to retrieve these materials, and will it consume them? No. Retrieve 2 logs, consume, yes. So this has, the joke is it's a built-in reading light. Um, yeah, so it's telling you like, and everything I'm telling you, the quest book also tells you, right? Go out, collect gravel and wood. What I do, gravel, wood. Okay. Look out for Pam's Harvest Craft Gardens. So you can see how the game generally tells you what you need to be doing. So yeah, no flint drops naturally in Gregtech New Horizon, which in the early game is a bit of a curse. In every other part of the game, it is a massive blessing because, man, stacking flint is annoying and it will just be left in the cave. Um, so the way you convert right now, at least, is like this: 1, 2, 3, bada bing, bada boom. So you might be thinking to yourself, man, 9-to-3 ratio, that is horrendous. And you would be entirely correct. That is absolutely horrendous. Now, because we have this crafting table, I will be skipping this because I can simply, well, okay, well, I thought I could be cheeky there and skip, but okay, so I'll explain the next thing of the questing books. Crafting task. One craft task, crafting table. So this means to complete this, I can detect submit, and even though I have one all day long, it's not going to accept because it actually wants me to craft. So this is what happened to Karax, is that he had already crafted things. Basically, he had crafted his crafting table essentially in Airmarks. It wasn't crafting table, it was, I think, some NV machines. But he had crafted those before he had unlocked the quest, so it didn't count. So this is also why I recommend staying with the quest book, is not only is it almost always teaching you how to proceed and teaching you how to do it in not a terrible way that will make you want to Alt F4 and never return to the pack, but it is also teaching you in a way that, well, not teaching you, it's also not fuggling up your quest book. Um, so crafting table, easily you can just click on it in the quest book. It'll bring it up. It is simply just 2 logs and 2 flint. And bada bing bada boom, we have it. Well, trust me, we'll use this crafting table. We get apples, which is, again, a bait food, but the only good thing we can do with them right now is do this recipe, make apple saplings. So I believe we're going to be in this crappy little village for at least a little bit longer. So I will go ahead and actually plant the 2 apple trees here at the edge. Um, yeah, papaya, it's just more bait food, so we'll just go ahead and leave it. These end coins, the survivor, they're useful, but we'll leave them for now. Checkmark, cool, quests look different, and this is again teaching us quest with jagged edges is a main quest, linked to the other main quest by a thick line. So we can see here, thick line, thick line, thick line. We can see thick line. We can see, like here though, thin line. All Alone in the Night is a thin line. If you're playing single player, updating the pack means having to reload the quest book, which basically means you're going to have to reload the quest book if you update the pack, which can be annoying. It actually just gives us a second quest book, which we'll take and just leave on the floor. Actually, along with our other one, because, well, we don't really need them because we're using the grave. Oh. So, yeah, you remember when I said don't go ahead of the quest book? Okay, yeah, so we have example 1 in this pack of not going ahead of the quest book of my idiot self right now crafting those apple saplings before I had unlocked the quest like an absolute dumbo. So, yeah. So we just get to ignore that one for now. So now we get to craft our tools. Shovel, pickaxe, axe, hoe. And these work the exact same way as shaped crafting, as stick, and just flint to replace. So we can go ahead and get the rest here. And to make everything quicker, we'll first craft the flint shovel, and then you'll see exactly why we like starting in the village. Yeah, no searching for gravel, you just pillage the village. I mean, you collect it. So that's also with the way the flint crafting works and how it's terrible like this. That's also part of the scaling. So Gregtech New Horizons scales in multiple ways to make things easier over time. You can think of it like, almost like, how do I imagine this? Sitting at the bottom of no, it's not like that. It's hard to explain, but basically the way the scaling works is, at first, a material is hard to get, flint, and there's always one per each, like, tier. So, like, and so it begins tier, like, the hard material to get, let's just say it's flint, even though it's really not that hard to get. Say it's flint, because in low voltage, the material is steel. Steel is very hard to get. Well, the way Gregtech works is, as you progress through the pack, old materials not only become easier to collect, but they also go further. So, right now we're collecting flint manually by mining gravel and going 3 gravel to 1 flint. Hard to collect, also very inefficient in crafting. But eventually, we will be able to craft a grinding bowl, which will allow us to go 1 to 1. 1 gravel to 1 flint. And then eventually we'll be able to craft an excavator, which will allow us to mine a 3 by 3 by 1 area. So instead of 1 shovel click to 1 gravel block mined, will go 1 shovel click to 9 gravel blocks mined, and then etc. And then that scales. So we went from, 1 to 1 mining and 3 to 1 crafting to 9 to 1 or 1 to 9 mining and 1 to 1 crafting. And that's just flint. There's plenty of examples of other resource chains and how they work as this as well. So that's nice. Another thing in Gregtech New Horizons is another tip. If you think you're gathering too much of a resource, you're not. Not in terms of, oh, you need way more to complete whatever you're going to collect or like complete. Not like that. It's just there's always more. You could always use more dirt. You could always use more gravel. You could always use more sand. You could always use more clay, brick, whatever have you. Whatever you think you have too much of, you don't, and you could probably use a bit more. It's both a blessing and a curse of this pack. So in here, there's flint, obviously, which I'm going to take. The loot bag is relatively good. Oh, sorry about that. Another quick pause. Let me rethink by that. Sorry. work stuff come up. Where was I? Collecting, questing? Right, quest book. Yes, flint. So the reason I took the flint over the bag is the bag truly is random. It really is random. Like, and it's a lot of the time just a bunch of garbage, quite frankly put. It's just garbage, just outright, just absolute unadulterated trash. But sometimes can be really good. Mainly though, especially the lower tier, I wouldn't say low tier, but just lower tier quest books, just not worth it. Or not quest books, lower tier loot bags, not worth it. Late game loot bags, higher tier loot bags, pretty good. You can get some sweet stuff in there, but yeah, early game bags, pretty garbage. And get some tropic gardens. Thank you. Another textile garden. Thank you again. Don't mind me just pillaging this guy's house. Alright, indoors we go. And then block it off. Then we can use a reading light torch. What is that? Well, we're not going to worry about that because we're safe inside of our house as we progress the quest book. So another thing we can do, we can go ahead and knock out the Sorry, I'm just listening at the whatever that is growling in the background. Looks like a wolf or a zombie, something. So we'll go ahead and knock out the chest quest here, and we'll take the chest as our reward. We'll just place it here at the door. Just don't crucify me for putting that right at the door. I beg. Go easy on me. This is not the permanent base. We're pillaging the village and we're moving on. Calm down. So get that stone. It's a pretty hard one to get at the moment because of the fact that our... What is that? Okay. We're just gonna ignore that. We're just gonna mine down. Like right in the middle of the floor, because I don't really care. Three torches should be enough. One other cool thing is you can put torches to the right of whatever tool you're using, and then by simply... Oh, okay, well that's... Ignore that advice. That is an advice for only Tinker's tools. But once you get Tinker's tools, if you have torches to the right of your tool, by mainly your pick, by right-clicking, you can place torches down. So that's really convenient for, you know, obviously since the offhand didn't exist in this version of Minecraft. So yeah, this is, again, a lot of, like, people complain about FAF in Gregtech New Horizons. So we can't see here. Granitic mineral sand, which, well, if you haven't played Gregtech New Horizons before, you probably don't recognize that name. But basically, this is iron. You can smelt it and you get iron. So go ahead and pick that up. Jesus. Oh my. It's going ham. But, yeah, so... we'll continue on here. Ignoring whatever that creepy crawly is. God, what a time doing this. Reset my progress. There we go, a stack. Cool. So quest done? Yeah, okay, cool. So we're done with that. So now we can go make a furnace, which is just extendo of what we've already done. And obviously if you've played the pack before, it gives you an advantage. Because, well, you know what pack, like, there's a lot of quests to be doing. Mainly, like, these ones here. Like, tell me when we reach 20. Jumping all the time is exhausting, makes you really hungry, reduce your food depletion. You might want to use some stairs instead. But, reward, ladders. Now, you might think, oh, a bunch of ladders, that's not good. Until you realize that, again, if you're not familiar with Gregtech New Horizons, every single recipe in Gregtech New Horizons is, I believe the term is Gregified, and mainly the term I use is it's spaghetti mode on all of this, on every single recipe. So now you need screwdrivers and mallets and string and wood screws to make ladders. So fair trade for just some cobble and some wood for something that you're not going to have access to for a while, and also a decent meat. But generally, the way you should be looking at quests, so we can go ahead and claim these now that we actually have a chest. But generally the way to look at quests in Gregtech New Horizons on just a broad standing point for like clarity reasons is... Okay, well that berry just disappeared, so we won't worry about it. Is the big boxes, the big box quests like these are important. But everything to the sides is all the extra that makes your life easier. Some of them are just not going to be able to be done. It's like this one. Maybe you're lucky and started in a bamboo forest. Bamboo is very useful since it grows really fast, and when you break the most bottom block, the whole thing comes apart. You can use them as sticks, or you can place the bamboo sticks to grow and make a 3-block tall wall to protect your base. You can also use berry bushes for that, assuming you don't want to spend materials on fences. So if you're lucky enough to either find bamboo or spawn next to bamboo or find it in a chest or get it through a quest reward, you have something that can be farmed for sticks and also used as a defense, as a wall, as like a cheap and easy compound expander. Because, well, if you go to the fence recipe, again, I mean, for the cheapest one, yeah, sure. If you mind basically turning an entire tree into a singular fence, yeah, more power to you, my friend. But that's not really what we're in the business for. Eventually, before we even get to LV, we're going to have basically infinite wood because of a process I'll show you guys how to set up that makes, oh, there's the berry. That basically makes wood farming very trivial. Um, but yeah, as for now, not an option. So here we've got a loot bag. We have no choice. Okay, see, we got 16 arrows. Now, I think 16 arrows, it's a pretty bad reward. That's not exciting at all. The sad part is 16 arrows is actually like on a scale of like F to A. It's like a C plus, B minus tier reward. It's actually one of the better ones, which is the sad part. But yeah, because well, the duality of loot bags, man, especially in Gregtech New Horizons, it is either just straight into the hole to be burnt and left to despawn, or this changes everything, or it's okay. It's like that is the three states. It is either this has no use, throw it into the garbage immediately, or now if you've played the pack enough, you will know what needs to be binned. If you have not played Gregtech, probably don't bin everything that you see, thinking one very good example is the dye one that floods your inventory with like 16 different dyes. Seems annoying, seems very annoying when you first get it, but trust me, that saves about 2 to 3 hours of frolicking through the fields to find stupid flowers for random quests. Those dyes, that is actually like an A tier reward, so just keep them in some stupid chest. So we can go sharpness over 5. So the sword is basically, this is again why I say the early game of this is not very hard. I mean, God, just look at me. I'm faffing about doing like a full idiot, and I'm still doing okay. Um, so we can take our mutton, and we'll take our logs, and we're just gonna do this, and doot doot. Might seem like a waste, but again, it's if it helps us now. My big role in games like this, and this goes for basically any game, like, because Gregtech New Horizons is closer to Factorio than it is Minecraft in a lot of ways, and the fact that any minute advantage that would press you forward just that much further now is worth the resource cost and burden to just take than it is to try to like grit your teeth and like go through it otherwise. Just tank the resources, call it a day, move on, because it will save your sanity. So yeah, this is why I got 6 wool, just predetermined. Not because the quest actually see like night vision. I mean, useless in normal Minecraft, but with hardcore darkness makes, you know, exploring at night not absolute garbage. So then we can go soft mallet, which, you know, if you are a person who has not played Gregtech before, you would not have memorized the recipe for a soft mallet. But as someone who has, I don't need to look up the recipe for it. But if you were, number one, the optional task will just tell you, okay, it's 6 and 1 click. Okay, it's like this. So I'll just, for people, just because no stone unturned, if you ever have struggles with crafting something, and you may be asking, why won't this craft? This is the first thing you should go and look at. These two crafting table symbols, N just enough items is shaped crafting and shapeless crafting. Shapeless crafting means that the items just have to be inside the grid and it will return the product. So steel leaf hammerhead and stick can be hammerhead here, stick here, hammerhead here, stick here. Any combination works and it will return this product. Shaped crafting means that you have to have the exact shape down in the grid for the item to be crafted. So if you have all of the steel leaf on this side and the stick on this side, even though it's the same shape, it's not shapeless crafting, it's shaped crafting. So it has to be in this exact order. Now, a lot of that way, if you can go just back to our steel leaf hammer. Okay, that's annoying. So we'll just go soft mallet, because that was also in it. You can see here, there's two that popped up. Soft mallet and neutronium soft mallet, which obviously this isn't useful, but it's the same thing. It gets you back to the same recipes without... One is just Gregtech material tools, which will show you a bunch of stuff that will not have correlation for a long time, or just the soft mallet recipe. You don't really need to know the difference. You'll click around and find it eventually. They both have it. But this question mark, by hovering over it, you'll see the X's and the check marks. So in modded Minecraft, a lot of the times, certain wood types may not apply. It's like here, we can see that Natura sticks work, but in some recipes, Natura sticks might not work. Certain types of wood might not work. You might not be able to use mahogany logs. Like extra trees mod seems fine, but maybe Natura tree of like mahogany oak does not actually work to make the soft mallet. You can find that by hovering here. If you have something that will autofill from your inventory, it will be check marked. If it's, you know, if it's not though, say you have 6 planks of whatever oak and it's not working to craft the soft mallet, and then you come to here and hover over this and it has an X, that just means that that type of plank, that type of wood plank does not work for the soft mallet recipe. Then to autofill, if you hold shift, then click, if you actually have the materials, it will then fill in just straight into the crafting table. Another way though is if you hold control and click, a ghost imprint of it will appear. And there then, just imagine these were planks, you could then fill in like this to create it manually, choosing the exact type of plank you wanted. So if you had 6 spruce planks and you wanted to get rid of them, and you had 82 oak, then you could do this and be like, okay, use the 6 spruce because I want to save on inventory and those need to be gone, etc. Also, never do that. No, always close your doors. So now we go on to the bed, and the reason I'm rushing the bed is very simple. As soon as we get the bed, nighttime no longer... Oop, not that. See, I'm trying to find melon seeds, which, see here, shaped crafting. Shapeless crafting includes this, the melon juice. See, this is why we go over this. Melon juice is a shapeless craft recipe, so as I sit here and fiddle around like an idiot, it keeps trying to make juice. Oh, it's making juice. So if I hit U and go to shaped crafting, I can see here, I don't actually have the required thing. See, I thought I needed, for this recipe in my inventory, that's a hammer, not a soft mallet, which you can tell by the direction. Leaning to the right is hammer, leaning to the left is your mallet. So to actually craft the melon seeds, which is what I was wanting, I need to do this recipe. So very quickly, even myself, I thought I could craft melon seeds with a soft mallet and melons, which I was correct, but using shaped crafting and shapeless crafting and JUI was very quickly to deduce the real recipe, which that is another frustration I know a lot of people have with modern Minecraft, so we were able to skip that. So now we go on to So Tired Must Sleep, the bed. Congratulations, you've built your first hideout. Yeah, I built this. You should have a steady supply of food now. Sure, fruit tree. That's steady supply of food, right? So now we go on to bed. So we can see here, carpet, soft mallet, wood, fence. Okay. So one thing is, bed's actually the first thing here in my bookmark. So one thing we'll just go apple tree, oh, or well, sapling for convenience, because I know I'll have to craft one again. Oh, there we go. So say I'm looking, so how do you use this tab over here? This has a scroll, you can get many, many pages in here, but essentially the way this works is if you want to add something to this, you hit A on your keyboard while hovering over the object you wish to craft, and it pins it right here. And you can hit Shift S, and it's actually going to, well, I don't know why that one's in general hitting. But you can see here, like, as you hover over it, like, a quick lookup of, like, the different stuff, if it has it, and you can craft it. It's like here, Alumite dust, it kind of freaks out because you can't craft Alumite dust. It's like a process that goes through on something else. But, like, stuff that can be crafted, like crop sticks, sometimes it just doesn't really understand what you're trying to get at with the certain hovering over it, and it takes maybe a while to load, or it just never gets to it, which is fine. But the main thing is, though, is I can go whoop whoop whoop, craft around, and go, okay, I need to be able to craft apple saplings. Click, and I'm right back to my apple sapling crafting. It's very useful when you're going down long chains of how to craft stuff. A good example, as you can see in my inventory, is resistors, electric motors, twice, 10 rotors, vacuum tubes, and then finally the final electronic circuit recipe. So you can see here in this, I pinned resistors, pinned vacuum tubes, and then, yeah, I pinned those two. These I just crafted, and the rest were simple, but mainly these were the other spaghetti ones. So instead of having to type in electronic circuit, blah, blah, you get the idea. Typing this in, finding it, clicking on it, and then navigating through this to click on a resistor just to go, okay, what was it again? Ball of glue. Okay. Right. That's annoying. Instead of doing that, I can just click on a resistor and be right back to where I left off. That speeds up a lot of the crafting table shenanigans a lot. So we'll go ahead now, steal these two fences from in here, the rest of this, and then should be able to craft our bed. Well, after I do this. So this is the reason why I crafted got 6 wool. It's not just normal wool, because of course it's not, it's Gregtech. You need carpet. So then I shift, and I click, and boom, I have my bed. Right? Yes. Then I can claim. Now, if you're not lucky enough to find a village for free, this actually gives you a door, so you can actually build a decent hovel without having to do this. So that's nice. So we'll put that down. Dump, dump, dump it all in, and open the loot bag. So we can see here, like, this is a good example. So we can see 4 more times for diminishing returns. So what we want to do is just keep eating on these. This is battered sausage, which is pork sausage and batter. Batter is flour, and in mainly firm tofu is what you want to use because you can get it from wet tofu, which is just soybeans and water. Regardless of your opinions on tofu in real life, tofu as a substitute for meat in recipes in Gregtech New Horizons is extremely useful. So we can see here, now we build the rocket ship, obviously, by seeing this here. So now we go ahead and build that rocket ship. Yeah, if you can't tell, I'm jesting. But yeah, Gregtech New Horizons is a long and intricate mod pack with massive amounts of custom content and over 3,000 quests to guide you through it. We recommend you set yourself small goals from tier to tier and see how far your journey takes you. The ultimate late game goal is to craft a Stargate or two, but the recipe is outrageous, and very few players have ever done so. You need a big goal for your run, we suggest to aim for something a little less crazy, like going to the moon for if it's your first time playing, or making and automating an assembly line, or crafting the Tier 8 rocket, which is the last regular rocket and is reached in ultra high voltage. So if you're ever wondering what the Stargate is, and you were coming from the memes, um, yeah, just, yeah, dense. Will I even attempt to say that word? Probably. Magnetite rock. Magno magnetic hydraulic dynamically constrained star matter plate. Wow, that is a mouthful. Made from dense eternity plate, hologram projectors, super light splitters, and wetware mainframes. Wow, wetware mainframes, man. Which then, of course, is its own thing of you need to research them and then build an assembly line with SMD resistors and diodes and capacitors and inductors with, yeah, this is not something we will be messing with for like probably like the next if we do continue this, that's like literal calendar years away. That is like literal like actual in real life years away from now. Like I'm not joking with you. So something's going ham, getting burnt outside. So let's see, take that back. So yeah, we have our bed now, which I believe is the end of this. So we could actually skip on to the next tier immediately. We'll take these rockets, which are going to explode. Nice. And then we can click on this, which is even more challenge needed. So this talks more about basically, yeah, you can play in hardcore, no rocket run, sky block. God, don't ever do this. And then speed running. So that would be like what Ghostpedia is doing. It's like a speed running type thing, which is like basic rules. Yeah, basically speed run the game. Kind of cool. So this side of the quest, we're basically going to ignore till we get a permanent base. So we're actually going to start with ready, set, go here. And we get our first actual like decent thing. The food journal is really nice because, you know, Shanks worth eaten 10, bonus heart 0, Shanks until next heart. And it keeps track of basically what foods you have eaten recently, which helps you keep track, but also what you've eaten just in general. So a big thing in Gregtech New Horizons is every night, excuse me, with the beyond, every new food you eat, so we can see here, well, it hasn't come up with yet because we're still counting down from the diminishing returns, but once that goes away, it will say how many times we've eaten it out of the last 20 foods, and also if we've eaten it before. So this cookie will say like, eaten 0 out of the last 20 times, never, you have not eaten this food before. And the more different types of food you eat, the more extra bonus hearts you get. And you can get up to like 2 or 3 extra complete rows of hearts just from that, as from what I'm aware. And then you can obviously stack that with red heart, yellow heart, and green heart canisters from, you know, Thumbcraft researching and Arcane Infusion, which means you can actually become incredibly durable just based off of eating food just alone. Get, you know, which Ghostpedia goes over in his, he's like, chomps on a bunch of food to get the extra hearts, makes it extra tanky. Lunch bag, I'll show you how this works, but I'm not going to use it yet, due to the fact that I'm doing a little strategy. But if you put food in it, then shift and crouch, and then now, so like in the closed state, when you right click, it opens it. If you shift and right click, it turns it into its eating mode. Now, if you get hungry, you can right click and you will eat the food animation from the bag, and it will pull whatever is the food out of the bag automatically that will return the most hunger to you to fill your bar but not go over it, while also being a food that you are not having current diminishing returns from. So if you have like a full Thanksgiving dinner and cooked mutton and apples in the lunch bag, and you have, say, 1 shank missing, and you have eaten mutton 5 times, so you're getting diminishing returns, more than diminishing returns at that point. It will then eat the apple instead of the full Thanksgiving dinner. It will not waste the Thanksgiving dinner unless that is the only thing you have that is not giving you diminishing returns, at that point, I'm fairly certain that it will just eat the Thanksgiving dinner. Um, which obviously isn't that big of a deal because, oh, there's a mini Enderman, kind of annoying, but won't look at him because he'll clap me. Yeah, it's kind of annoying, but also not, because realistically, if you're not looking to eat a food item, you shouldn't be ever putting it inside the lunch bag in the first place. So it's not really that annoying. Never really gets in the way, becomes a problem, if that makes any sense. So the lunch bag obviously only holds 3 items, which if you do the math, 3 times 4 is 12. You have a pool of 20, which means that just based off of filling the lunch bag alone, you're never going to be able to, you know, even with all the food types, never be able to avoid diminishing returns for eating on that one spot. That's where eventually, well, not the plowman's lunch, the lunch box comes in. This holds 6 items. As soon as we get a decent amount of iron and a base and basic tools, we can make this. It's a quest as well. The lunch box holds 6 items, which 6 times 4 is, of course, as you know, 24, which is 4 more than the diminishing returns cap, which means you're then able to comfortably, on one food, well, on one slot, avoid diminishing returns as long as you keep it stocked with food items. We've now collected all of the gravel out of this village, which is a decent first step. So the next thing I want to do is craft another shovel, because I know this one will break, and then begin quarrying out. Basically, probably 6 stacks of this sand will be good. So what I'm doing now is I know, for, like, I have a quest here, the gathering of these, which is basically gather sand, gather gravel. Not only do I need this much for what it's trying to get me to craft, which is the first coke oven, which needs to be set up at a permanent fixed location, which means we have to leave and actually adventure and find a decent place to live. But it also means that I'm just marching village. But it also means that, so what I did there was I came to here, hit waypoints, then hit new, typed in what I want it to be, and this is basically the coordinates. When you hit new, it'll make a waypoint where you're currently standing with your Y value included. If you're playing with TP on or like cheats on, there will be a button here in between off and remove that will say teleport. If you hit that, it'll just teleport you directly to the X, Y, and Z axis of the waypoint, which you can see in, I think, Ghostpedia's video. Otherwise, if you have the waypoint on, it leaves this pillar. Well, this is just for longevity and finding this again, so I'm just going to hit it off, because right now it's pretty obvious in the world that, okay, the village is here, but once we explore massive amounts of area and maybe our base is way over here or down here, well, remembering where the village is going to be not the easiest thing in the world. So then, yeah. So one reason, just want to collect lots of material before I leave this area, because not only will I need this sand for the coke oven, but I will also need the sand for the tinker smeltery, and I will also need sand for glass for an iron tank valve for the steam tank we're going to have to make later, and I will also need sand for, and you can kind of get the ideas. I'm always going to be needing sand, and if you spawn in, say, like a boreal forest or like a mountainous biome, raiding your local rivers might be the only place you can get sand from. So when you're in an area like a village for gravel or in a desert for sand, it's kind of good to, make wheat while the sun shines, if that makes any sense. So as we're here, just grinding away, talk about some other things. So at the very start of this video, after we started it, well, not the video, the world, I mean, the reason I said that was a good spawn, that red clay, the reason the clay is a good spawn is, if I type in red clay, well, not red clay, clay, there, this. Well, not really. It's stained clay of a sort, and we look at uses. If you macerate it, you can get clay dust. The reason this is annoying because the only other way to get clay dust, other than breaking down those blocks, is you get tiny piles of it from, where is it? Not tiny. You can get, oh god, ignore me as I do crafting table faff. Just bear with me. This. You can just take the stained clay in a mortar and grind it down, 1-to-1. The problem is if you don't find that, you're stuck with this stupid recipe, which is you mine clay balls in a mortar, and you make it 4 clay basically into 1 clay dust, which is painful beyond the fact that it's a waste of tons of clay, but also the fact that the mortar does not go off of like material grinded for durability purposes, but goes off of just amount. So you're having to use 4 times as many mortars and waste just ungodly amounts of clay balls, which are actually useful and used for many of other recipes of higher quality than just basically shat away down the toilet, when there are quite literally entire biomes of clay dust. Now, if you can't find a biome like this for clay dust, a really easy substitute is any tall enough mountain with a realistic world generation will spawn at the top not red clay, not red stained clay, but like grays and like cyans and like cool colors basically of stained clay in the mountain generation. It will be nowhere near as plentiful as obviously the stained clay biome, but it will be more than enough to completely well, not completely, be more than enough to complete the recipe. We're just gonna, so the monsters nearby are the stupid endermen, so this is also the, oh god, there's a cave here. So this is the main problem with some of this shit. No, Umdallah. Okay, well, whatever. We're just gonna use this opportunity to faff about in our base, because why not? So we can have sand the gathering, which, cool, we can get more sand. We're not going to take anything, because we're trying to move. But, like, clay the gathering. Okay, wild board, yeah, go get some clay, that's cool. Checkbox this, so this is just telling you about basically everything I told you about of the food before. 1 point for every half shank of hunger. After 50 points, you get 1 extra heart. So eating a bunch of random, like, little ingredient foods basically will just not add up as well. They're still important because, you know, every little bit counts. But eating a plowman's lunch, which is worth 4.5, you know, eating more complex foods will obviously give you newer hearts quicker, but also every little point counts. So just mainly eat as many different types of foods possible as you can. Not enough items. This is again just telling you a lot of stuff I've already told you about. You can use T to search nearby inventories, which will emit some particles. You can double click the bar to highlight any matching items. So that's, I'll show you that right now. So if you go like clay, for example, CL, mainly you can use this for word searching. Your chest will get spaghetti in the beginning very quickly. So if like, okay, I want to find wood, type in wood, wooden door, wood planks, soft mallet made from wood, wood stairs. Okay, crafting, crafting table. Okay, seeds. Okay, there's the seeds. Okay, garden. Okay, there's the gardens. Right, and you get the idea. And this works for any different number of inventories. Very useful feature. Anything else? Y command to look for a machine in the world. I don't really know how that works. I don't think I'll ever have to use it because I don't imagine I've never lost a machine like this. But yeah, if you figure out how that works and you want to leave a little instruction tutorial down in the comments below, be my guest. Yeah, this is the bookmarking I told you about. Default key is A. To move a bookmark, drag it with Shift left mouse button, so you can like shoop and drag it around the order. So like this one naturally probably should be up here. Helps keep the sortation of it easy. Yeah. You can even bookmark entire recipes with Shift A, or recipes with amounts using Control Shift A. So basically, if you're trying to craft, I don't know, in this, say the apple sapling, you can go like Control Shift A in your inventory with like apparently 64 of each, and so you can just Shift A, control amounts, and instead of just pulling one sapling, one apple, it will just pull a stack of each, which can be useful for mass batch crafting later on. Next thing, NEMI is more powerful than you can imagine. So we'll take the Explorer coin. Clicking left mouse button or pressing R on the item. So yeah, that's another thing. Pressing R on an item will show you what it, shows the recipes to create it. Right mouse button or U shows recipes that use the item. Backspace moves you back to the previously browsed recipe, so you just go back one. If you hold shift, it stops the cycling of all the different items, which sometimes is useful, not really. There's these if you know, like, this is sort of less useful because most of the time if you know this, you already know what to look for anyway, but you can use like pound or dictionary. This is what or dictionary. If you ever used the digital miner from Mechanism, you would be very familiar with the ore directory of like different ores, which of course are changed in Gregtech, as we'll cover later, of the different ore types, but basically ore directory for like iron ore to find it in NEI. It's the same concept. Use asterisk as wild card. So you can use like pipe, asterisk bronze will show you all the bronze pipes. At mod, that's in the big search bar, is shows you everything from that mod. You can even subset search now, like oh, oh, excuse my yawning. Man, it's bad. Like mod Thumbcraft table you can go in, which is nice. You can obviously check the web or just play around. Pretty good. We'll go ahead and claim this. We might leave a lot of these coins behind, I'm not really sure. Mainly whenever we can sleep and sort our inventory. There we go. So sleep, sort inventory, then we out. Boom, boom. So we take our bed. We want our bench. And we want our furnace. Then, obviously, so what this does is these are sortation options. This is settings. So you can like auto refill, middle click on, repair friendly refill. But mainly is if you hit Z, it just is default sorting, which just sorts everything by, well, I don't really know what it sorts by, but mainly it groups shit up is like the actual useful part. So we'll take the mass stack of, we want the coins, we want the sack, we want our chest, books, gravel, we want all the raw materials. The doors are extremely useful. And speaking of doors, we're taking this door. Also another thing, never leave a torch behind. For that kind of reason. The gardens, the good food, the mallet, and flint. Cool. Alright, we out. The reason we're leaving that chest behind as well, you may be asking, why are you leaving the chest behind? The reason is this is something that's not just useful in Gregtech, but also in every single video game. So, we ask, steal that so we don't go net down. We have 2 doors already, so we'll just go ahead and leave one. So the reason I'm leaving this is, I'll also go ahead and do this, is that if we ever get stuck back to ground base 0-1, like, I'll just go ahead and do that because I want the free hand. So if we ever get stuck back to Nothingville, we can take and come back to this village and have storage in this, and then rework ourselves back up from the ground up. Which, that's also another important part of not just this mod pack, but also every mod pack, is every mod pack that is intensive in time and resources. Like, you can see here, this is like, if I was playing normal vanilla Minecraft at an hour and 10 minutes into the recording, I could probably have, you know, full diamond armor by now if I really was tryharding. But in Gregtech, I don't even have a house, right? It's quicksand. So that's just another feature of Greg, to be honest, to be thankful for. Oop, bit of a freeze. So yeah, that freeze wasn't you guys and your computer, don't worry. That was Gregtech simply loading. Gregtech, once it moved over to 2.3.0, the just general lagginess of the world was a lot better. I'm gonna dump the dirt so we can pick up duplicate gardens. The general lagginess of the world was a lot better. But yeah, there's still some things to work out that really Gregtech itself can't ever fix, because Minecraft spaghetti code is just a thing. It's just a very poorly optimized game on a very poorly optimized pair code. And it's a shame that the Bedrock, or well, Bug Rock version of the game, even though it runs well, is just I mean, there's a reason Bedrock Edition does not have hardcore mode, right? That's just all you need to know about it. Bedrock Edition does not have hardcore mode because of the fact that you will just randomly die at times, which I know myself in playing on Xbox 360 and then originally PS4 was my first like true versions of Minecraft I played. It's just incredibly frustrating to die, especially back then because of how the leveling mechanics worked and how pre-villagers and pre a lot of stuff, when you didn't have access to the internet easily to look up easiest XP farm EU, basically, right? You just didn't have access to a lot of that stuff. And dying at level 35 was just incredibly frustrating. So you may be wondering why we're taking a little adventure here. Multiple reasons. Number one, I don't like building in deserts, just in general, but now there's actual like cope to go along with that fact. It's at the top left there, you can see humidity. And humidity's at 0% and now 10, back down to 0, and now up to 80. So this would be a decent candidate. So the reason humidity matters is water in Gregtech New Horizons is not infinite. So I can showcase that to you right now. Okay, see this source block. When I break this, this should become another source block. Only, it's not. The reason for that is there is no infinite water in Gregtech New Horizons. If I get a bucket and start pulling buckets out of this lake, or out of this river, eventually it will go dry. That's a Thaumcraft obelisk, so we have to stay wide from that. Yeah, it's just more of the desert. So yeah, so the reason humidity matters is how you get your water in basically the first part of the game. There is a structure you can build called a water sighting tank from, well, here, Railcraft, which when you make a 3x3x3 with the middle one hollow, so 26 blocks in total, mobs can't spawn on it. It forms multi-block, which so see, we can see here, returning hunger is getting to me, so we'll just go ahead and throw this. Yeah, it's getting bad. So one thing, before I get back to the water sighting thing, I will not forget this time, I promise. So one good thing about the sword Flint Sword from Gregtech is it has fire aspect on it for free. Forgot to mention that. Mobs do explode. Be careful of that. Occasionally, passive mobs when slain will explode. There's ways to prevent that, like butcher's knives and stuff, but obviously we're in poverty mode, so we don't really have access to that. That's pink sheep, pretty rare. So yeah, water siding tanks. The reason humidity matters is water's not infinite, and generating steam is your, well, I mean, there's a whole steam age. I mean, that is your option for power. In the steam age is you get water and heat it up in boilers and you produce steam. There is no secondary option. It is the one stage that is really railroaded. There is no, like an LV, you can use benzene, you can use steam, you can use oil, you can use solar, which is really just another version of steam. It's just solar steam. But you have options, right? There are options. There are plenty of options. In the steam age, you have to use steam. There's no using other ways. There's many ways to generate steam. Solar boilers, coal fire boilers, boilers fired by lava, right? There are options in the steam age for producing steam, but you are stuck for producing steam for your power needs. Because even if you find some cute other way to produce power, well, it doesn't matter because you're not powering electricity powered machines. It's steam machines that need steam to be powered. So water is the end all be all gatekeep. And with it, you can't, make steam from nothing. You can't pull it straight out of your ass. You need some form of water. And because it's not infinite, and scooping it up with your hands, right, is not an option. You you need some way of collecting water, like a pump or something that's automatic that isn't just you on your hands and knees groveling to the water gods that Greg will revert the code and give you infinite water, right? Because that's just not an option. So here I'm waddling this way. So 60% here. You can see that structure up there, that tower, but the main thing is the mushrooms, is what I'm looking at. So the main reason I'm heading this way, number one, there's a nice mountain, but I assume that is a fungal forest or a... Oh. Holy shit. Back off, motherfucker. Ooh. Okay. So, wow. Okay. Wow. Yeah, so that's another thing. Not only that's a brutish zombie, which is from Thumbcraft, I believe, but also there are hard... No, stop spawning. I torched you, you're not allowed to spawn. It's hardcore. Floppy disk. It's... Yeah, I forgot that was... It's infernal mobs, which basically means that, mobs will spawn with weird modifiers, which will just absolutely clap you. Silver ingot, that's important enough to take right now. One thing I do want to do is condense this just into one for clarity purposes, and then take my sand back. The bucket is obviously a keeper. So we have silver, we have bronze, we have iron, we have a good amount of tin. None of this alone is worth taking. The silver is useful because silver is used in the act of making a solar boiler, which you can make in the Steam Age. The problem, though, is silver, obviously silver ingots. We can see here for the spawning of well, silver ore, which is, well, not space mining, but vein stats, right? Yes, we can see here generated world. So we can, cryolite vein is the one we want, or galena, either or for silver. But we can see here, this is how, a brief introduction into how ores work. But basically, cryolite vein, which is just the fancy name for silver lead veins, can spawn in Mahis, which is tier 9 rocket, Anubis, tier 9 rocket, or tier 0, which basically means you can get there without a rocket in the Twilight Forest. Then Galena can also spawn on Moon, the Mars, Ganymede, which is an asteroid in the asteroid, well, I believe so, is an asteroid in the asteroid belt. Logically, by the tier of the rockets, that would back that up. That is not. Oh, that's Makemake, which is what I'm thinking of, which is an exoplanet way further out past Pluto. Tier 4, Venus, Oberon, Triton. Shit, okay. And then there's tier 8. I thought that was another guy coming to clap me. So yeah, ignoring this, moving on. But before we do that, mark this. So we can waypoint this, we can go zombie spawner and mark it with, I don't know, yellow, the series. And we'll go ingots. Ingots, like this. Let us know that it's a zombie spawner, but there's also ingots left in the chest for us to come back for. And go ahead and drop this dirt, drop that, and shift. So yeah, the reason we're heading to the fungal forest is, hopefully this is a fungal forest, but twofold. The reason, number one, is it is one of the biomes in this pack. I'm not sure how many are, but it should have a 100% humidity rating. Humidity is honestly not. Yeah, see, okay, yeah. Once we get back to this 100% humidity, I'll just pause for a second and see 100% humidity. So 100% humidity in. You can see here it keeps shifting as the biomes bleed as we traverse over. But as we get into the actual fungi forest, there we go, not fungal forest, fungi forest, it becomes 100% humidity. So another thing I want to do is this. If you've ever played IC2, I assume if you know what Modern Minecraft is, you know what Industrial Craft 2 is. This is a rubber tree. They are just as important here as they were before. Dump the wood. I was really just interested in seeing if I could get a rubber wood sapling. I know people who've played Tekkit Classic before are probably screaming at me, "Oh, make a tree tap." Trust me, there is a reason I am not making a tree tap. You see this recipe? This is the reason I'm not making a tree tap. I am not a noob. There's a very good reason why I'm not making the tree tap. So yeah, fungal forest, iron gravel, mycelium, and this. If you've played Modern Minecraft before, really you recognize this structure. This is a roguelike dungeon. I mean, I guess you could base in it, but I would not recommend it for the simple reason that, I mean, the floor plan of this is just, I mean, the old village house had a better floor plan than that. You had more workable space in the old village house than you had in that piece of trash. The other reason why fungal forest is good is Threefold explains in one of his videos where he's doing the growing in the alternate dimension he created in season 2 of his playthrough. But basically, in fungi, I'm just gonna keep calling them fungal forest. Just fungal forest. But essentially, a biome depends on how fast a crop will grow, and one of the fastest, if not the fastest, in the game for plant growth is this fungi forest. So this is another thing that's extremely rare, is aluminum. In you use aluminum, obviously if you've ever played Tinker's Construct before, you know what aluminum is, and you know that it's used to make aluminum cast. Well, the thing is aluminum does not spawn in ore types, and until the end of LV, to where you get to an EBF and etc., you do not really access an easy, readily way to produce aluminum other than finding it in those gravel patches. So we've actually found 4, which puts aluminum off the table entirely, because there is a quest to find aluminum, and one of the choice rewards, if not the reward for it, is another 10 additional aluminum gravel, which 14 aluminum gravel is enough to complete all quest till you get to the ability to refine and produce aluminum yourself from the Twilight Forest. It is enough for all of the mold quest. It is enough to complete all of the tool quest, not all of the weapon ones as far as I'm aware, but possibly if you stretch it right. And it should be enough aluminum to create the alumite sheets as well for the forge. So it pretty much is the end-all be-all of aluminum for you. Once you get the 4 gravel, unless you really are trying to like splurge and mess around, it is enough. So I just want to hike through the fungal forest now. I'm not really excited about living in the fungal forest. The main thing is I want to live on either like in a clearing of it or on the edge. Like I'm hoping that you can see here there's a river. I'm hoping that there's an alternative biome on the other side of the river. I'd like to split my base to be like, okay, I do my growing and like I have resource gathering in the fungal forest, but I do not live in it for the simple reason I mean, number one, just it's a fucking mess. Let's be real. It's an ugly piece of trash. So like this. This is a perfect example. This like Boreal, not Boreal, more like Tiger Wood to like sprucey. Oh, it's some actual mushrooms. I actually didn't, well, yeah, I guess they can spawn on mycelium. Okay, so, yeah, but you can see here, like, here's 100% humidity. So, like, this is the main thing. Because as soon as I go across this river, we're going to be dropping into, like, 60s if we're lucky. Like, we're in the river now. We're in real world generation river wet, so we're at 90. So even like a wet river is still not as good as the fungal forest for humidity purposes. But as we swim across the wet river, and we get more into the actual biome over here, we can get boreal forest, which is 60% humidity. So this is actually, see here we have river cold, which is 40% humidity, while we hit river hot at times, like probably, yeah, it's a bit like river cold 40, boreal forest, some weird generation going on here, like river cold here again. I know I thought I saw river hot. Might actually have to check the replay for that to make sure I'm not going schizo, but yeah, so like this is a decent place. I mean, definitely not my favorite, but the main thing is that if we have access to, main thing to check is it still river wet? No, yeah, once we get away from the fungal forest, it just goes river cold, which is partly annoying. That clay cliffs is another great sign of reason we should stay here, because that removes the need for when we need our clay dust to hike all the way back to spawn. This clearing is kind of ugly, so I want to try to march down that way a bit. Basically what I'm trying to do in this first episode, probably end it off here relatively soon. I'm just trying to get to a point to where we can call it home. This, like, a definitive point to where I'm like, okay, for at least this chapter of the quest book, this will be our definitive home location. We will live here for this foreseeable future, and well, not once we leave, if, when, or however we leave, there will be a significant mark on history by us being here, is the idea. It's like really anywhere around like river wet. So like here we have 20%. Yeah, river hot was like 20% humidity, which is like unacceptable. Because like one siding tanks are expensive because they take, again, sticky resin, which is not easy to come by. It's 26 resin per siding tank unless you get lucky with the slime island, in which point you don't need the sticky resin. But yeah, it's just it's so much better. Yeah, because this is all pine, but like this is all still river hot. Okay, Jade Cliffs. Okay, this is all 90 in Jade Cliffs. So at least for now, we can walk away. I'm not too worried about the crop growth speed as long as it's within, spitting distance. I'm not too worried about it. It's actually a pretty biome with 90% humidity, so I mean the crop growth speed here is probably pretty decent too. Quarried stone. Oh, that mountain. I want to get on top of that mountain. That'll definitely show us a lot of the surroundings. I think definitely though. Oh. Well, mark this. So what that is down there is actually I've never found one before. I know exactly what that is because I've seen it. Other players and content creators make it. Well, not make it, find it and interact with it. Well, what that is it's a game room where you play a game of Simon Says, and you get a couple chances to perform well. And the better you perform, and the more times you perform well, the better your reward is. So we can see. So this fungal forest actually goes all the way wrapping around. So yeah, as you not complete, well, once you complete, the Simon Says, you get rewarded for how well you did. You can see the diminishing returns has already begun, but here we are in the, well, just straight up shield biome, or shelled. That's aluminum gravel ore, so I need to go get that. But yeah, really, honestly, anywhere in here is probably decent. That hill, probably just burrow in over there and call it a day. The only... Yeah, water's relatively nearby. That was the only other thing that was a... Okay, eyes on the prize. Gravel ore. The only other thing I was concerned about was distance from a water source, but those two lakes mainly are confined. Two reasons are the very first thing we'll need to do next episode is collect clay balls. Clay is really only found at water. So realistically, the way we're going to have to go and get clay is we're going to have to hike back up to this river and dredge that river for the clay balls. But yeah, 9 aluminum gravel ore. I mean, this is enough to basically ensure that we don't even need that quest. Keep thinking I'm going to keep eating, but yeah, it's not happening right now. One thing I want to do is actually just keep walking this way for a little bit. Because the mountain excites me. I'm drawn to the mountain. You can't tell. I like mountains. Mountains are cool. Another thing in this series, the reason I actually care about my base location, unlike I know Karax did not care about his base location because he just moved to the Void Dimension, is I hate the Void Dimension with a burning passion. I mean that's just me. That's just a personal choice. It's just personal. Like there's nothing wrong with the Void Dimension, and quite frankly put, as far as I'm aware, gameplay perspective, the Void Dimension is just the superior choice outright. Mobs don't spawn there. It's a blank canvas to build. There's no faff, and it's better on frames because there's no weird terrain generation to deal with. It's just arguably the superior choice. But also, I I don't like just building in a void. I'm not a fan of Skyblock at all. And my disdain for Skyblock carries over to the void base. So we've got a desert, an oasis. So that's actually really convenient. So we have clay within striking distance, desert. So yeah, down basically near this water, this side of the mountain on this water is basically the spot for us for the foreseeable future. Basically just down here on this ridge above this water, because that's another thing, you want to be on a bit of a ridge, because you don't really want to be, so like here, we'll settle like on this ridge, probably build it up a bit with some dirt, build a path down, build a path up, be like on this ridge, maybe cantilever like a sprawling, like, I don't know, probably a slab roof or something, dig into the side of the mountain. But like at the very least for now, like this is the level. This is the level I want to stand on. So we'll just go, because I'll also dig back the face of the mountain probably a little bit. I want to at least be like, at least here. And then just give myself a little bit of a hovel here. Something that's not complete trash. And then throw this down, and then I can just empty it all out. Yeah, easy. Mine the rest out of here real quick. And oh, gonna lay down ore. That is free nickel. Sure, I'll take free nickel. Oh well, that's misclick. There we go. We'll take one more back, just to save myself. This will definitely be expanded a lot more. This is either just going to be like the entrance of our future base, and we just temporarily live like right here, and we expand further on later, or what have you. We just simply don't have really any materials to build even a furnace, so we just keep it like this for now. But yeah, this is where I wanted to stop. This is exactly like the perfect place to stop, because we're at the end of basically what people always bitch about. And to be quite frank, the bitching part of the early game of Gregtech New Horizons. I mean, you watched me in the course of what, an hour and 40 minutes die 0 times and find himself a good base location with 80% humidity, which is more than acceptable, with water, desert, clay, and gravel. So all of the raw resources we're going to need for the foreseeable future: rich farmland, clay, dust, sand, gravel mountains, and underneath us, and in these riverbeds. So gravel, sand, clay, rich farmland, plenty of clay under here and all throughout here, mushrooms for easy food, milk mushrooms, and easy, well, shelled or really boreal forest to hunt through for animals. You can actually see there's like only 2 other mobs in the world right now. It's pretty lonely. Only 1 now. But yeah, it's the early game of Gregtech New Horizon, quite frankly put, if you know how to approach it, if you don't faff about and you keep a level head, is not very hard, right? So a lot of the videos you might see on like, oh, running around, and I get it, it's meant to be entertaining, but also for people who are actually trying to get into this in a serious way, not just meme around. Well, not just not meme around, just people who actually want to see, okay, how do I start Gregtech New Horizons without wanting to be, was it Odysseus pushing the boulder up literally like a mountain, right? Like, how do you play the game without that being a thing? How do I do that? And this is how. This is the example of how you would go about doing that. You can actually begin and have a decent world, spawn in not the best of places, but with tune it to your advantage. This biome sucks. This looks like ash. You can't do water sighting tanks anywhere around here. Scavenge something, explore safely, find some cool things, and then get to a naturally good place with a decent base, with a bed that you can skip the main problematic part of this game, and at least in the early parts, which is the night. If you keep seeing random buffs, like right now I have speed 3, that comes from sleeping. That's the message you keep seeing here. You feel really well rested. As you sleep, you get random buffs, anywhere from absorption to speed to strength to night vision. It's completely random as far as I know. But yeah, that'll be where I leave this episode off. Um, it's an amazing start to a new Gregtech Let's Play. I hope you guys enjoyed it, found at least something you could use out of it, either if you're a completely new person to modded Minecraft or just Gregtech New Horizons in general, or if you are a returning player who's, well, not played the early game in a long, long time, hopefully this can ease you back into it in your new run. Well, alrighty. Until next time.